You are almost certainly smarter than your grandparents. That sentence felt obvious, right? Natural, even. Here's the thing, until about 30 years ago, the data proved it. Every single generation scored higher on intelligence tests than the one before. Every single one. And then, without warning, it stopped. For 50 years, from the 1930s all the way to the 1990s, researchers tracking IQ scores across dozens of countries noticed something remarkable. Every generation was measurably smarter than the last, not in some vague, qualitative way. Measurably, consistently, on paper. Across every country that tracked it, a child born in 1980 scored higher than their parents. Researchers called it the Flynn Effect, named after philosopher James Flynn, who first documented the pattern. And for half a century, it was one of the most reliable findings in all of cognitive science. Then, somewhere around 1995, the line stopped rising, and then it reversed. The data from over 1 million people across 8 countries now confirms something nobody expected when they started measuring. The scores are falling by amounts researchers described in their own published words as alarming. But here's the part that almost no one covering this story has put side by side what is rising on the exact same timeline as human intelligence falls. That's where this gets genuinely hard to look away from. A 2018 Norwegian study confirmed the reversal was real and accelerating. They tracked over 700,000 men across 3 decades. Not a small sample, not one country, not one bad year. A separate American study measured around 400,000 people across 4 different cognitive domains. 3 of the 4 were declining. Think about that for a second. We're not talking about a generation that watches more TV or skips breakfast. We're talking about a documented, measurable, cross-national drop in the cognitive abilities that built modern civilization. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's pulling those scores down and why it's almost certainly happening to you right now, whether you realize it or not. There are 3 things driving this. The third one makes the first 2 feel like a warm-up, and there is something I planted in the opening of this video that by the end you will understand very differently than you do right now. When the reversal was first confirmed, the explanation that spread fastest was also the most comfortable one, at least if you weren't the group being blamed. The theory went like this. Smarter people have fewer children, less educated populations have more. Over generations, the math works against average intelligence. It had a name, the dysgenics hypothesis, and it carried the cold authority of arithmetic. It felt scientific. It spread through research articles, comment sections, dinner table debates. You've probably heard a version of it. You may have even half believed it. But in 2018, a group of Norwegian researchers published something that cut the legs out from under it completely. They didn't compare different families. They compared brothers. Same parents, same house, same genes, same neighborhood, same dinner table growing up. The only variable? When each brother came of age, the younger brother scored lower. Read that again. The times, younger times, brother raised, in the times, same home times, scored lower. Think about what that means. The decline wasn't in their DNA. It times couldn't times B. They shared DNA with an older brother who scored higher. Something in the times world, times changed between when the older brother grew up and when the younger one did. The environment shifted, and whatever shifted, it shifted times everywhere, times because the same pattern appeared in Denmark, Finland, France, the Netherlands, Estonia, and across multiple American studies. Imagine 2 plants from the same seed grown in the same pot. One sprouted earlier, one later. The seed is identical, but the one that came up later got less light. The seed didn't change. The conditions did. So this is not a story about who is having children with whom. This is a story about something that changed in the shared environment after 1975. Something that depresses the specific cognitive skills these tests measure. What is that something? It turns out there are 3 suspects, and you interact with at least 2 of them every single day. The cognitive skills declining fastest aren't random. They form a specific cluster. Researchers call it executive function sustained attention, working memory, the ability to resist an immediate reward in favor of a delayed one, fluid reasoning under pressure. These aren't abstract lab measurements. These are the skills that let you read a long book, follow a complicated argument, Sit with an unsolved problem without immediately reaching for your phone. Here's the mechanism, and pay close attention, because this is where it gets personal. Executive function is not fixed at birth. It builds like a muscle through repeated, effortful use. And the specific exercise that builds it is one that has become structurally scarce times in modern life. That exercise is boredom, not emptiness, not laziness. The specific cognitive state of staying with something difficult when an easier option is available. Reading a long argument through to its conclusion. Sitting with an unsolved problem without reaching for distraction. Following a thought to where it actually leads instead of jumping to the next one. In 2023, researchers tracked more than 80,000 people and found something almost too wild to believe. The average time a person could focus on one screen without switching dropped from 2.5 minutes in 2004 to just 47 seconds. 47 seconds. Not because people got dumber, but because nothing around them required focus anymore. Every app, every feed, every platform is engineered deliberately to interrupt you, because interruption keeps you scrolling, and scrolling makes money. The business model and the cognitive cost are literally the same thing. Now return to the Norwegian brothers. Same house, same parents, but the younger brother came of age in an environment with measurably more interruption, more fragmentation, more passive consumption, and fewer hours of the effortful, uninterrupted thought that built his older brother's working memory. The seed was identical. The light was different. But the attention environment is not operating alone. The second suspect was removed from your food quietly, without any announcement by people who almost certainly knew what they were doing. Some of what's driving the decline was not an accident of modern life. It was a decision, a quiet one, made without any public notice. Through most of the 20th century, commercial bread in the United States and Europe was made with iodized dough conditioners. Iodine, an element your body cannot produce on its own, is essential for thyroid function. And thyroid function is directly linked to cognitive development, especially in developing children and in utero. The Flynn Effect's rise tracked almost perfectly with improvements in nutrition, including iodine availability. Then, in the 1970s and 1980s, manufacturers switched. Bromine-based alternatives replaced iodized conditioners in commercial bread production. No announcement, no public health campaign, no warning label. Iodine deficiency, a condition the developed world had essentially solved, quietly returned. In developing populations, iodine deficiency is documented to reduce IQ scores by 10 to 15 points. In developed nations, the effect is smaller, but it is measurable, and it happened in the background of your childhood. You were probably exposed to lower iodine levels than your parents, and you had no way to know it. And there's more. Lead in aviation fuel ran until 1996. Researchers estimate it caused measurable cognitive losses across entire birth cohorts who grew up near small airports. Nutrition, chemical exposure, the fractured attention environment. Three converging forces running simultaneously for 50 years. But none of them, not even one, fully explains what you see when you put the decline on the same graph as something else. Something that has been rising quietly since 2015. That graph is what this video is actually about. Go back to the opening of this video. I told you something was planted there that you'd understand differently by the end. Here it is. The Flynn Effect, every generation scoring higher than the last, ran for 50 years and then reversed. When researchers began studying the reversal carefully, they noticed a pattern in times which time scores were falling. Not all cognitive skills are declining equally. The ones falling fastest form a specific cluster. And when you look at that cluster carefully, you realize something unsettling. It doesn't look random. It looks almost designed. Not by anyone in particular, but by a combination of forces that happen to target the same times set of skills. In the same times region of your brain, the exact skills that only one other system on Earth has been getting dramatically better at. Let me be precise here. The abilities declining fastest in humans are the ability to reason through novel problems, hold multiple variables in mind simultaneously, sustain focus, and think under pressure. Those are not minor skills. Those are not peripheral. Those are the hardest cognitive tools our species ever developed. The ones that built science, philosophy, medicine, architecture, and they are specifically, measurably the skills that AI systems have improved at fastest since 2015. Is this a coincidence? We have been measuring how well humans think since the 1930s. We have been measuring how well AI thinks since about 2015. When you put both curves on the same graph, there is nothing subtle about it. One line goes down, one line goes up. And right now, they are closer together than at any point in recorded history. Researchers will tell you the tests measure slightly different things. And they're right. But even those researchers admit the overlap is not incidental. The skills both lines track are the same ones. They are heading toward the same place at the same time. There's a word for when two things converge at speed from opposite directions. Number, the reversal is possible. 8:39:30. Here is the part that almost no one reporting on this tells you, because it changes everything about what you just learned. The reverse Flynn effect is environmental. It is not genetic. It is not permanent. Something in the world changed. And the things that changed are, at least in principle, things that can change back. The Norwegian brothers prove it. The only variable that could explain two brothers in the same household scoring differently is the world they grew up in, not who they were. No generation before this one has had the data to see the decline happening in real time. The researchers who first confirmed the Flynn effect had no way to know it would reverse. The scientists who confirmed the reversal in 2018 had no way to know AI would benchmark on the same cognitive task within 7 years. You have that data now. You are watching the lines converge in real time. And you are doing it at the one moment in history when the decline is confirmed to be reversible. And when the cost of not reversing it has never been higher. Number, the payoff 9:30 end. So the question is not whether humans are getting dumber. They are. The data is clear. The question is whether the line goes back up, and whether you are part of the answer or part of the trend. The cognitive science on reversing this points to a specific set of conditions, almost the exact opposite of what most productivity advice tells you. It's not about doing more, it's about deliberately doing less. Fewer tabs, longer thoughts. Harder problems held longer. The specific experience of boredom resisted less. The line is not fixed. The window is not permanent. And right now, you are one of the only generations in history that even knows the line exists. What you do with that knowledge is still entirely up to you.